Hello and welcome to the very first segment, the first introduction of Madison Hogue. She is on the Texas soccer team. I'm really excited that we are signing her, and I'm really excited for this to be posted so that you guys can see how much of a good person that I have seen from her before. And like she told me, she's usually on this side interviewing. So now the fact that she's answering the questions, maybe this will be a little bit of practice for you too.
Yeah, roles are reversed a little bit. So
roles are reversed. But please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Texas OrangeBloods YouTube channel. You can get all of the episodes there. And I'm really excited that we're getting into women athletics with OrangeBloods.
Me too. I think
it's like great. My forte.
This side too, for sure.
Right. You know, a little bit less testosterone and more women.
We love it. We love it.
Thank you. So you are a senior on the soccer team, and I really wanted to start this off with, obviously this is just to get to know you. The OrangeBloods members know how the introductions go. I always say it's a first date. You know, you give me your first date. This is our first Tinder date. It's gonna work out good. So I really wanted to know, for starters, so you're a senior, I wanted to know how the COVID year went. Like on March 11th, everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
Yours.
So I remember actually when the COVID news broke out, we were like, okay, spring break is extended. So then because we're athletes, we might not get that extra week of spring break. We'll probably have to come back and train. No one really knew like what was happening with anything. So none of the staff, none of us knew really anything. So I remember my mom saying, like, when you come home for spring break, like maybe bring all your textbooks in case you don't go back. And sure enough, we didn't. So that was definitely wild. And doing off-season training on our own was definitely a whirlwind, and something that we all really stuck hard to. I know that was something within our team that we really stuck with and held each other accountable for. And then our actual last fall, COVID fall, was wild. So being kind of the first season out of COVID, with COVID still technically happening, we got tested 3 to 4 times a week. And then our season, we normally have around like 25-ish games, got cut down to 9. So it was definitely way shorter and way different and a huge adjustment. But I think we came out of it strong, and we worked our butts off that following spring. And now thankfully we have a normal season this year, but it was wild for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. What type of system did they use to cut down the season that short?
Yeah, so we basically didn't have any preseason games. So we didn't play anyone out of conference. And then we just played our conference teams. So normally we play 2 games a week, Fridays and Sundays, which now this year it got changed to Thursdays and Sundays. But we normally play Fridays and Sundays, but it got changed to once a week. So we would either play Friday or Sunday. And we only played conference, but we didn't even have a Big 12 tournament. So we just had Big 12 conference, and then NCAA tournament for soccer was pushed to the spring since, you know, like Pac-12 and those other conferences didn't play in the fall, and it got cut down a lot shorter. So we didn't qualify. So it was wild, like the whole season, but it was cut down basically to just strictly conference games.
Oh, wow. Was that difficult for you guys? How were y'all able to adjust?
It was definitely difficult. I think the adjustment of only preparing for 1 game a week was just so different, because normally it's all go, go, go. And like, we have so many more recovery days and like kind of mock practices where we're just doing positioning and stuff before pregame and everything. So it was definitely a lot more practice time, which I think was really beneficial with how much time we took off during COVID from March on. But it was definitely a big adjustment to just cut back to 9 games after having like a 25-30 game season. So it was crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine that, doing that to the track team, because we get better as the year goes on. And I know that's kind of hard for a lot of people to grasp, but a lot of our conditioning comes from racing.
Yes.
So in the COVID year, when it hit, obviously that was a big adjustment. But then when I got another year, I only got another outdoor year. So I was training the whole indoor season, which seems like, you know, it would be kind of, well, you're getting so much more work in, you know, so much more conditioning, but you know, you can't go for like 9 weeks. Like you can't just keep going. That's how it felt for me. And eventually I think my coach just ended up doing like mock races for me because I needed to do something, you know, like just the continuous
some sort of training.
Yeah, it was like, how do you know that you're even getting better? Really, when the team was leaving every weekend and I was here still like busting my butt. So it's definitely tough. And how did it affect the team mentally, just in general, the team getting shut down in 2020?
I think it was, as everyone would probably say, it was definitely discouraging because I know you guys were actually in season, right? When it got shut down. So thankfully we were on off season, so we didn't technically lose a season. But I can't even imagine what that was like for you guys. But getting shut down during like off season and everything, it was just very draining mentally, and it was hard to kind of stay focused when everything was going on in the off season. Like I said, we held each other accountable and we did our fitness and everything. But even I'm from California, so a lot of the fields and parks even were shut down in California.
Oh, wow.
So you couldn't even really like go outside. Like one time I was training outside just with my family and we got the police called on us because we were in like a group. And it's like, wait, this is our household.
For what? Yes. Wow.
So the houses like above the field were looking down on us and saw that we were a big group of 5 people that lived in my house. And they called the police being like, go tell these people to go home. So it's kind of crazy. Like
it is, you know, I never got to ask somebody from California how things really went during that time. So that's wild because I only really saw it on the news. And when I heard about things, I was still in Texas because I was kind of like, I don't want to go home. If we're getting shut down, I do not want to be in my parents' house.
No, seriously.
So when I was reading stuff on the news, it was saying like, we're going to have curfews, even in Georgia and in Texas. They were saying, because that's where I'm from, they were saying, yeah, we're going to have curfews. And then when I got in the streets and everything, there were really no curfews. I'm not really sure if things were as implemented like they were supposed to be. But I know in California, a lot of my teammates are like, I haven't been out the house in months.
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, it was insane. They even shut down the beaches. Like people couldn't go to
the literally outside.
I know. Like, we thought we could escape it a little bit going to the beach, but they like had park rangers and everything at the beach. So I was like, well, guess not. So it was definitely way different than Texas, and restaurants opened up way slower. I know like when I came back for that fall, my family was like, yeah, we still haven't eaten in a restaurant and like still are just cooking at home and everything. And our grocery store is the one outing. Like, so it's definitely was strict in California for sure. And it was crazy to be there and like kind of experience both California and Texas and see like how different. Absolutely. But definitely coming back to Texas, it was way easier to be motivated because I know our team kind of had strict rules being like, you're not allowed to see anyone else outside of the team because we want to keep our tight bubble so that we can compete for those 9 games and not get any canceled or rescheduled or anything like that. And we did a really good job of that. And we didn't really have any outbreaks until the spring afterwards. So we got to compete in our fall, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But it was way easier to be motivated and mentally there when we were with everyone and back on campus for sure.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, you're a senior, so you've gotten both perspectives of athletes not getting paid and athletes getting paid now with the NIL deal. How important is that to you?
To me, it's more of like an added bonus because we've experienced life without it. I think since we know what it's like without and how kind of awesome it is, like anyways, I think this is just an added perk and something that's really cool to see like my friends take advantage of and see all the deals that people are getting and everything. Like, it's super cool to see how people are utilizing all these new rules and stuff. So I'm really happy for everyone. And like, it's super cool that we can get to do this and everything.
What are you hoping to gain from just joining OrangeBloods?
I'm really excited that I've joined OrangeBloods. I've been talking with the OrangeBloods staff for a couple months now, since I want to kind of be a sports reporter myself. I have like my own YouTube channel, that sort of stuff. So I even talked about maybe working some of that in with OrangeBloods and getting to be kind of on both sides. So I'm just really excited to see where it goes and what they have me do, or just getting to talk to you every week. Whatever comes out of it, I'm just excited to be a part of OrangeBloods.
I love that. You're only wanting to do soccer or just tackle all sports?
I'd love to do so. I'm a big football nerd. I love football. So ultimately, I would love to be a sideline reporter or something for football, whether that's college, NFL. I don't have a preference, or in the studio, just something of the sort where I get to talk about football for a living. I would love to do that. So we'll see what happens with that one.
I like that a lot because that's where we relate so much.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just ask me, well, do you want to do track and just report for track? And obviously, track has my heart.
Exactly. And soccer has my heart as
well.
Yes,
but no.
It's had my heart for like almost 20 years now. So
exactly.
We'll start moving on from that.
Yes, I just want to just tackle all sports, and hopefully that's just what I could just take off doing. Yeah, I completely
for sure. And obviously, if the chance to report soccer presents itself, I will not pass that up. But it's just like, I'd love to just dip my toes into everything, like talk about every sport ever. I would love that.
Absolutely. And you mentioned you have a YouTube channel. Please tell me about Mondays with Maddy.
So I started Mondays with Madison about almost a full year ago. So it was November 2nd of last year was my first episode. And kind of the purpose of it was just to interview athletes at Texas, like really take my position at Texas as an athlete and with all my friends who are super talented individuals at the university, and just kind of get a portfolio of sorts together and really start interviewing them. So I shot my first video on my phone and like everything edited on iMovie, like very basic steps. But
iMovie, good old iMovie.
The best. So reliable, that iMovie.
It really is. I love that. See, once again, we can relate with that. Mm-hmm. I started like a little Instagram live. I want to you know which month you started yours. I don't remember when I started. Let's talk about it. But it was on Instagram. I kind of feel like it was around the time when the social injustice happened and a lot of the athletes were going out and marching and things like that. And I think a lot of the athletes felt, like they couldn't talk about certain things. And, I was already starting to get up. I'm pretty sure I was a senior. And I was just kind of looking at it like, nobody is going to take away our scholarship for talking about these things.
Literally.
If you guys don't feel like you can talk about it, let's just get on Instagram Live and talk about it.
That's perfect.
And that's just what I ended up doing. So I love your story about that. You just wanted to get a portfolio. And honestly, you just meet great people. You get reps in. It helps. It definitely helps.
It really does help. Like, honestly, just like seeing the interviews still from last November, getting views and stuff. Like, it's wild to me. I'm like, people are still watching this? Like, that's crazy to me. And I bet you feel the same way. It's like just seeing how well some of them do too. It's like, dang, people actually really watched this and like enjoyed this.
Exactly. Y'all care about what I'm saying?
Yes. It really it's great. I'm like, oh wow. What I say matters.
Exactly. Absolutely. And when you joining OrangeBloods, what you say definitely matters. And that's what I wanted to get into a little bit with you. Why is OrangeBloods covering women athletics so important to you?
That's a good question. I think it's so important to me because obviously being a part of women's athletics, like we see kind of how little we get compared to the men, and whether that's coverage wise, like we're talking about here, like it's just not covered enough. And I think women's athletics are so important. And like we see all these successful women athletes everywhere and how they're really making a name for themselves, like Serena Williams, Naomi Osaka, if we're talking about tennis, or Simone Biles, and how they've been getting a platform talking about mental health and stuff. And it's just so important to give women a voice and talk about their struggles within athletics, but also like their successes, and recognize them for how awesome they are. So I think it's super cool to kind of recognize women's athletics in such like a male dominated society when we're talking about athletics.
I love that you mentioned that. Just give like the viewers a little bit of perspective. We're not just complaining because we hate football. You know, we love going to the football games. We love the football players. I'm sure you have friends on the football team.
Yes.
Obviously, we know that they bring in a lot of the revenue. We know that. You know, America is football is an American sport.
Country, yes.
Yeah, so it makes the world, it makes America go round at least. So we know this, yes. However, I always pose the question, why do we care so much about football? Do we care about football because it's an interesting game, or do we care about football because this was something that is on the TV all the time? Something that, you know, ESPN, ABC, Fox has made people care about, you know? Right. And I have just seen that, and I have kind of gotten really annoyed with sometimes people, because obviously I'm an advocate for track and field getting a lot of coverage, and they'll say stuff like, well, if track and brought in more money, but I'm like, do you not understand it's like cause and effect? You know, maybe if we were on TV, we would bring in more money. But they're saying like, well, bring in more money.
It's the exposure.
So I think that is really great that OrangeBloods is bringing on women athletics and showing the members of the OrangeBloods board that we care about these other sports too. You know, and even on the Texas Longhorn, it's something as simple as the Texas Longhorn Instagram. I scrolled on it one day when I was arguing with somebody, but I was like, do you see how literally 95% at least of all of the posts on the Texas Longhorns Instagram, that's supposed to be like the everybody sport Instagram, is straight football year round, when football definitely ends in December at least.
Yeah. And
January.
And we see our women's volleyball team absolutely crushing it. Our women's team won the Natty. Rowing won the Natty. Like, all of these women's sports are winning these national championships, but
it's like, where's the coverage?
Exactly. So I think it's really cool is doing like getting to cover more of that.
Even outside of just like women athletics, just the other sports, you know, the swim and dive team here at Texas has been dominating for years. And they have just now gotten an outdoor pool. So it's like, what is it? Because, you know, because I've also gotten the rebuttal. Well, if you guys just win more, I'm like, do you guys know how many rings we have?
Let's count the national championships. Let's count them.
That's what I'm saying. And I remember a year where the soccer team, I think it was like when Chelsea was still on the team and like Sydney was still on the team, they went like undefeated for a good part of the year.
Yeah,
and they got up to the top.
Like the Elite Eight of the tournament, which is big for soccer.
It's huge. It was huge. And I saw little to no coverage about it. So as much as I can put the Texas women on this page, I will do it.
Yeah.
Because the more I show the audience like who you guys are and why you guys should care, it's the more they will eventually care.
Yes, seriously.
That's just what I'm trying to do. That's all I'm trying to do.
You're killing it. So keep it up.
Thank you. So I really wanted to know, like I said, treat this like it's your first date. You have been in Austin for a while now. What are some of your favorite food places?
Ooh. Okay. So Cabo Bob's is essential. And I feel like everyone says that. It's a very basic answer. But contrary to popular belief on my team, I think Cabo Bob's is way better than Chipotle. And I will die on that hill. I love Cabo Bob's. So that is a staple for me for sure.
Cabo Bob's is great. I don't think I've ever, no, I have gone on there my own will, but we used to get it for like our team meetings. And every single team meeting after that, I was like, where's the Cabo Bob's?
Like, I'm trained. I need it now.
Yeah. Have you been to Matzo Rancho? That's what I keep getting dragged on this page about.
Yes, me neither. And I told my friend that the other day, and they're like, how have you lived in Austin, gone to UT, and not been there? And I'm like, well, I just haven't. So guess we're going together.
Yeah. And we can do a taste test because they have actually been giving
OrangeBloods mukbang.
Yes. They have actually been giving me like food suggestions when I go. And
have to.
Yeah, so we're gonna end up going, and that's just gonna be how it is. What is your favorite hobby?
Ooh, favorite hobby. I would say I really like to like draw and paint. Like bake. Like anything like creative of that sense. Like I love it. Like
we would literally be best friends.
Okay. Well, like, so let's be best friends.
Right. I started painting too. I don't know if it was over quarantine. I don't really remember. I was just doing stuff. And then I don't know, one painting turned into like 50. And now they're just in storage. And eventually my teammates wanted them. Yeah, even I was like, I guess I'm kind of good. My teammates want them now. But I kind of am at a point where I don't think they're good enough for me to sell them. But I also don't want to give them away to Goodwill, because if somebody gets famous off of my work,
then like that's not fair.
Yeah, I would be hurt.
So maybe you could do that, just sign name and number on the back, and then everyone will know whose artwork it is.
I think I will, because it's time for me to give them up, honestly. So what type of things do you like to bake?
Oh my gosh, anything. I was just talking to my roommate about that this morning. I'm like, when we get back to Austin, I need to bake something. Like something I've never done before. So I think we're gonna do pumpkin chocolate chip bars to get in the fall spirit.
Yeah, but, very seasonal.
But my cupcakes are famous on the soccer team. They are fantastic. So
what type?
Literally just the basic funfetti, but something that I do. The girls love them and request them at every team party that we have ever. They're like, Maddy, are you gonna make your cupcakes?
I love.
I'm like, I guess for you guys, I will.
I love that. How did you do you make them from scratch?
Honestly, no. It's literally box cupcakes, but I think it's because I add like a little more of certain things, and they're like, and it makes them like super like soft, and I'm like, oh, this hits different, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. I know how to bake from scratch, but half of the time I'm just kind of like, who feels like doing that? All of the time.
You like really have to be in the mood to do that, where it's like, I want to whip these up with like flour and vanilla, not a box cake mix.
And I just don't,
because really box cake mix is undefeated. Like it really is.
And you can put your own spin to it, and people think it's homemade regardless. So just tell them it's homemade.
So we just say that anyways. Exactly. From scratch.
Love that. So you are actually in Kansas right now. It's you guys' first Big 12 game. You guys have had a lot of games so far. First of all,
we have.
I have to get used to the soccer schedule.
Yeah, it's wild. We're back to that 2 games a week. So we've been going since like end of August. So we've had probably like a full month, 2 games a week. Yeah.
And you're a goalkeeper.
I am.
So how do you prepare your body to play in 2 games a week?
Yeah, so our athletic staff does a great job of it. So we have off days Mondays and then games on Thursdays and Sundays. So they just do a great job of having recovery days and knowing when to have lighter practices, because it is a heavy load. But being a goalkeeper, it's not as heavy as the ones running like probably 8 miles a game, but it's definitely lighter. But they just do a really good job, and our treatment staff, athletic training staff, does a really good job of making sure our bodies are well recovered and healed up properly with any nicks or scratches that we have. So they do a really good job of preparing us.
What is the key to being a good goalkeeper?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Just like, because I have no idea, really.
Yeah. So the myth is with goalkeeping that like you never use your feet. It's like only your hands. And like for those that don't know soccer very much, it's like, oh, you just like stand back there and kind of catch the ball every now and then. And it's like, well, yeah, it does seem like that for sure. But honestly, like 80% of the time we're using our feet, and we're involved in like passing in the back. We're involved in the goal kicks, the set pieces, like all of that sort of stuff. So we're definitely way more involved with our feet than our hands, I would say. So I think like secret to being a good goalkeeper is being good at both. You have to have foot-eye coordination and hand-eye coordination. So I think like really mastering the feet aspect and the footwork and making sure that's all great. Then the hands, of course, but I think the footwork piece really separates good from great in my opinion.
And I have neither. Like hand-eye coordination, never needed it. This is why I chose track.
Yeah, because of your legs really fast. I don't do that. I stand back there.
I just did not.
Yeah, that's why I'm a goalkeeper. I'm not the running type. That is not me. That is for the others up there. And you track people.
Okay, I get it. So the less conditioning, the possible.
Speaking my language right there. Less conditioning.
Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Texas OrangeBloods YouTube channel, also OrangeBloods.com, where you can find all of these episodes, just dialogue on the board, food suggestions, anything you could think of. And I'm really excited to announce, your new NIL signing with us.
Me too. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to see where this takes me and women's athletics more specifically. So super excited.
Me too. Thank you so much, Madison. And once again, I am Serenity Douglas, your host, and we will see you next time.